Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, Americans. I'm a useful idiot, and I want to talk about the Connecticut shootings. It's a very, very dark day in America, and at the risk of glutting the airwaves with yet more coverage of this horrible tragedy, I'm giving my spin on it, mostly for the benefit of my regulars, because they know I'll bring something a little different to the table, and I'm going to save that for the end. To start things off, I'd like to send out my prayers to the young mothers and young fathers and families of all those children killed. There's no way I can ever comprehend their loss, so my prayers go out to them. And anyway, so I did a video on the Colorado shootings quite some time ago, and here we go again. And I predicted in that video that we would see much more of this, and much to my disappointment, that has turned out to be true. So let me bring up some of the reasons why the Colorado shootings happened, and one of the similar reasons that we have this shooting, and that is a culture of crass commercial exploitation of adolescent fascination with violence. And so, you know, we have a culture with video games and television and movies that glorify and aesthetize us from violence, and that violence solves our problems. So we have a law society. We have a moral bankruptcy, certainly in our youth, and our youth are absorbing a culture of moral bankruptcy, so it's no surprise that they would turn out that way. And I say that with a certain amount of authority, even though it's a cliche to blame media and violence, because look at the age group that's targeted by these video games and these movies where violence solves everything, and in very specific graphic detail. And that is the age group of young males from their late teens and early 20s. And what a coincidence. That's what generally the profile of most all of these shooters. And and I also think that with, you know, the culture that we have now of economic decay and such a violent and inhuman, insensitive foreign policy with targeted drone killings and interference in countries all over the world, this only adds to this law society and this moral bankruptcy, where torture is justified as well. So, and then another factor to bring into this discussion is people who have a low tolerance. So we see people who become sociopaths, and in our age, of course, technology is only increasing the sense of disconnection and alienation, and that seems to be a common factor in all of these stories too, and all of these narratives of these mass killings. People just aren't used to interacting with each other anymore, and they get angry quicker, and they don't have much practice at tolerance and just civility. So that's, and also, like I say, all the media encourages that sort of behavior too. You solve your problems with anger and abuse and infantile solutions, which are championed in scripts and narratives all the time in television and movies. So, and then to heap tragedy on top of tragedy, of course, we're going to have this disgusting media exploitation, and the circus is already in town. Certainly there's thousands and thousands of journalists truthfully sticking their noses into the lives of a small community reeling from this tragedy, and it's going to be a disgusting display in itself. And to go along with that, we'll have the political exploitation. So already all the usual bad actors and stooges and bootlickers are all lining up to try and exploit this for some sort of political gain. Some will gain by it, and some will end up putting their foot in their mouth, but it doesn't matter because it's just another disgusting spectacle. And then, of course, there's the cries for gun control again, and certainly that agenda will be amped up now with the deaths of so many children. And there's also the speculation that the common thread amongst these individuals might be some sort of brainwashing in order to expedite this agenda of gun control. And I can't totally discredit that idea because there's a lot of strange things going on in the world. But I tend to think the simple answer in this case is the truth, and that is these are just random people who have bad social skills, can't process their society, and end up trying to solve their problems with violence, with a great deal of suppressed anger, which they no longer suppress. And the other thing is I don't suggest that there's censorship in video games and television and movies. I just question the moral bankruptcy of corporations that put few limits on the kind of material that they market to our kids. And one can get into a whole other argument about parents not taking responsibility for how their kids are raised and what sort of things they ingest. But that's a topic for another day. But as promised, in the end, the big picture for me is something a little different. And that's the fact that we have so many people preying on people just like them with the same fears and frustrations, the same aspirations. And in this case, it's a small community where this man preyed on the very people in his own community. And to me, this is a theme that I find disturbing, and that's the fact that the state has managed to make classes of different people around the world feed on each other and cannibalize on each other and perpetrate violence on each other instead of channeling their anger towards the people who are really affecting their lives and really destroying their children's lives and really having a bad effect on the world. So their anger isn't channeled towards the state or the state's bad actors or the state's representatives. It's channeled to their neighbors and their schoolmates and their families. And that's a sad commentary. And I see the same thing as far as violent black youth, unemployed youth, and gang violence in our inner cities, and how black youth are preying on their own brothers and sisters in their own communities and their own families, and that's a tragedy. And the fact that Muslims in the Middle East are blowing each other up and blowing up women and children in the tens of hundreds. And for what point? Why are they blowing each other up and not channeling their anger in the direction that needs to go? So there's a common thread there. Reminds me of a saying by Jay Gould, a railroad financier back in 1886. And he said, I quote, "I can hire one half of the working class to kill the other half of the working class," unquote. And that is a sad commentary and true. And we see it in our own time. But that said, the tragedy in Connecticut is just unimaginable to me. I can barely comprehend it. And why these 20 children had to die for this man's pointless rage is beyond anything I could speculate. But I will say this, I cannot judge him. I cannot judge him because I cannot judge his madness. And I cannot judge what his world looked like inside his own mind, where all our lives truly exist. But I can hate him, and I do hate him. And I pray there is a hell for someone like him, because I want someone like him that is capable of such horror to destroy so many lives so quickly that he burns in hell for fucking forever. I'm a useful idiot.